Hey, what's up, everybody?
What's going on?
This is Tony.
And I'm Jenny.
And we are Lido Loca, and this is the Lido Loca podcast.
It's the podcast.
Episode 10. So we are back for another podcast, Jenny. What's on your mind this week? What's going on? What are you thinking about? What the heck are you doing? When are you going to stop talking so I can get a word in edgewise?
Really? I've had a great week. Have you had a great week?
Yes.
So it's 10. It's a decade of podcasts.
Don't get ahead of yourself, Jenny. It's 10 episodes. We didn't even do it in 10 weeks.
Oh, I thought you meant it was a decade.
Calm down. So yeah, 10 episodes in. I think it's a fair time to ask the question, how do you like podcasting?
Are we asking everybody that's listening, or are you asking me?
I'm having a conversation with you, Jenny.
Oh.
How are you enjoying podcasting?
I'm loving it, right? Because I get to be recorded talking. Because, right, like you're always saying, all she does is talk.
She's talking again.
She never shuts up.
So this is my big takeaway. So you are excited to be podcasting because you have a purposeful reason to talk.
Well, and you have to listen.
What?
Yeah, like you
what
have
did
to.
Say? Oh,
you know what's very cool, right? Is that I enjoy repeating myself, right? When I obsess over something,
yes,
I completely say it over and over and over again, right? So now you actually have to listen to it, and then you also have to listen to it again, over and over and over again.
Wow. Yes, that's true. I do get to hear this podcast several times, but I could never get tired of listening to you talk, Jenny, especially about cruising.
Exactly.
So it's been a big week for us. We've been struggling a little bit with the cruise blues, and we did something.
We did.
We booked a cruise.
We booked it.
We booked a cruise, and look, we're a little hesitant to say which cruise we booked. We're saving it for our Tuesday night live show. If you are unawares, you can watch Jenny and I do kind of a version of this podcast live on the internet on Tuesday nights, every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. That's where we're saving the big announcement for.
Well, listen to this.
Yes.
Why? Because maybe not everybody that's on Tuesday Night Live listens to the podcast, right?
Right.
So why don't we say what we're doing and what we booked throughout the podcast, right? Like, so keep listening and you may hear it.
I got no idea what you're doing, Jenny. I'll follow it, though. I'll go with you. If you got a plan, I'm your man.
All right. Well, let's do that.
I'm your man.
You're always my man, no matter what, with everything.
So anyways, if you can't decipher the clues that Jenny gives for the upcoming cruise, which I'll give you the first clue, it is happening, I don't know what the countdown is. I think it's only like 10 days from now.
Yeah, it's happening this month.
And it's happening on the 21st. And today is the 10th, right?
Yeah.
So like 11 days.
Yeah, it's the day before our anniversary, so it's kind of like our anniversary cruise.
That's the first clue.
Yeah. All right, that's it. Let's keep talking. Okay, so what do we have on tap for the podcast today? The main topic we have, what I like better about cruising than land vacations. That's what we're going to talk about. Nice.
And then, of course, we're smack dab in the middle of a crazy news cycle, so we're going to talk a little bit about the state of cruising and a little bit about is it time to pull back from cruising or to continue cruising? So we'll have that conversation. And yes, I think that's going to give us a pretty full conversation. But let's start with the main topic. What I like better about cruising than land-based vacations. Do you like cruising better than land-based vacations?
Absolutely.
Why?
Because you can budget it better.
You can budget it better.
Right. And I feel like when you go to a land vacation, I always felt like we were stuck in that one area. Right. So
let's stick on the budgeting. Like, Jenny, we have to talk for an hour. You can't go, well, here's the 3 things. It's all done. My goodness. Okay. Look, you guys are out there listening to a podcast. I don't understand. So we might not be like everybody else. I think I know what you mean by budget better, but what do you mean by budget better?
I mean that I like the fact that when we go on the vacation, there's no other payment needed unless it's something extra that we wanted to do.
On the cruise.
Right, on the cruise.
All right, so I'll be transparent, right?
Okay.
We blended a family 20 years ago, and in reality, sometimes when you live your life, you get a divorce, that kind of thing, money's hard.
Right.
And then you blend together a bunch of kids, and so sometimes it's hard to have enough money to go on vacation. And honestly, we weren't in a position where we were just saving up a pile of money to go on vacation.
No, because we blended a family.
I mean, there are people out that do that really well. Like, oh, I saved up several $1,000s for my vacation. I just put it in a savings account. We were never in that category. And so the thing about cruising, and I don't think we're alone. I mean, it's hard. I mean, sometimes it's hard to make ends meet.
Well, and even without a blended family, it's hard.
It's hard, right? Mm-hmm. And the cool thing about cruising is it's one of the only vacations I know where you can make a deposit on your cruise, and then you can pay over time. Sometimes you can make a deposit 2 years out, almost 3 years out, and then most of the time the cruise lines, they don't give you like a hard, you have to pay this every month or you're going to lose your cruise. They say make a deposit that will hold your cruise. Here's the final day where everything has to be paid, and you can work out in between how you pay that thing off. And so to me, that's a very flexible way to go on vacation.
Right. And listen, there are land vacations that you can do the same thing, right? But
which ones though? We never explored any of that back when we were trying to figure out
No, because then there's airfare and that kind of stuff for say if we wanted to go to an all-inclusive resort somewhere, right? I think that the places that we used to go, we had to make sure that we can get all of the children in a car and drive to our destination. So our things were a little bit limited. For time and for space.
Yeah, no
right.
doubt.
So the things that we had to do, we had to pay up front.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I always remembered as, when we were trying to figure out when we go on vacation. For me, on the traditional land-based vacation, I spend a lot of time thinking about money, right?
Right.
Do we have it, even though we paid stuff in advance, do we have enough money to eat? Do we have enough money to do all the, fun things like theme parks and entertainment? Do we have money for that souvenir that somebody wants? It's like money, money, money. And the thing I really like about cruising is that I don't really think about money as much.
Right. And I think that for me, for us, because you work so hard, right? We both work very hard. Everybody works hard. So when you're on vacation, you really just want to relax and not have to use your brain so much, maybe,
Exactly.
So when we would go on vacation with the kids, it was very stressful for me to also see you stressed out, all right, if we have, McDonald's for lunch, maybe we can go see that show tomorrow or go to a different dinner or, that sort of thing. So
it's like that too. And you don't want to deny your kids anything, but
exactly.
There'd be times you'd have to roll into McDonald's and look, everybody can pick 2 things off the $1 menu or 3 things off the $1 menu. I tell you, cruising now, we never did it with our big, small, when our kids were young.
Right.
But man, I tell you what, I could imagine just on a cruise, if once, if you figured out how to get everybody on a cruise, then you go sit down at the main dining room and you're telling your kids, have anything you want. Have 2 if you like.
Right.
Or we can go get another burger, that kind of thing without any kind of hassle. I think there's a real appeal.
Well, and
to
it's
that.
very cool, seeing my friend Charlotte, she has 5 children. And to see her on a cruise with her kids is very cool because of what you just said. They can go into the MDR. The kids can order whatever they want, whatever they're just desiring. So, as a parent, that's probably really cool. Hey, let's go to the dining room. You could get, 3 hamburgers if you want,
exactly.
or 2 desserts.
Yeah, no, it's so. And I had that on my list. The way money works, I like that on the cruise ship. I also like that it's a cashless system, that you don't have to worry about your credit cards. You don't have to worry about having money. it's a double-edged sword, right? Because you can sign for and charge anything, there is the potential of overspending. And the cruise lines, they work a good system. So the best case scenario for the cruise lines is they want you to prepay as much as possible. Of course, you paid your cruise off. If there's anything that you can prepay, like specialty dining or internet or, gratuities, alcohol, any of that, they want you to prepay because they know that once you get on the cruise ship and that all you have to do is sign your name to get more stuff. If you've paid a bunch of stuff and you've come on the cruise ship with another budget in mind, they want you to spend all of that money. And
absolutely.
They make it really easy just to sign your name, but it is really nice that you don't have to keep up with credit cards or cash or anything like that.
Yeah, and I agree. But, sometimes I have to be a little cautious because I know how I roll. If I don't see the cash in hand, I think that it's endless.
Right, like the money tree's out there somewhere.
That's right.
Yeah, but we've done it both ways. We've never gone and not spent anything, but you could.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you absolutely could, and most cruise lines, when you purchase your cruise, you're purchasing your cabin. You're purchasing some included food like the MDR and the buffet, and you're also purchasing some sort of included drinks, primarily water, tea, and lemonade.
Right.
Coffee, basic coffee. And so if you can live a week with just that, or if you can bring some sodas on board or bring some, Crystal Light packets or something like that, you could really get on an inexpensive cruise and not spend a lot of money. It costs money to go on excursions and those kind of things. But if you just wanted to go and cruise around on a cruise ship, you could almost do that without spending anything other than your cost. And that's never the case for me on land-based vacations.
Right.
There's always something else to buy on the land. Something simple like if you're staying at a hotel and you want a snack. There's no late night pizza at the hotel. No. It's really wild.
Absolutely. Yes, I think budget is the number one thing for us.
I think so too. That was the number one on my list. I think the number one reason that cruising is better than land-based vacations is money, just the way money works and those kind of things. The other thing that I really like another thing that's on my list is the no driving, no parking aspect. So if you think about that on a land-based vacation, so now we've done this. Here's a real world example. We would drive from Nashville, Tennessee, over to the Smoky Mountains. We would go to Pigeon Forge or Gatlinburg,
right.
And we would normally have a hotel room, rented over there. And once you got to the hotel room, that was all well and good. But the stuff that you wanted to do, you had to get back in the car. You had to drive to it. And you had to find parking. And sometimes in these crowded resort areas, that could be a whole adventure unto itself.
Oh, absolutely. And with how precious time is, you're wasting a lot of time.
Yes.
When you're working, 50, 60 hours a week, and then you're going on vacation and utilizing your vacation time, and then you're wasting 10 hours driving or, getting in and out of the car and, and traffic.
Yeah.
You don't have to deal with the traffic.
Yeah, I love that so much. Gatlinburg it's a pretty fun place, but if you want to go, you have to drive everywhere. And,
right.
Kids aren't always super tolerant of climbing back into the car. And, okay, we're going to go to the go-kart track. All right, we drove 45 minutes to the go-kart track. Well, what are we going to do now? Okay, we'll go eat. And then traffic's still bad, so you got to drive a half hour to food. It's just waiting and driving and waiting and driving and looking for parking. You don't have to do that on the cruise ship.
And what's wild about that, right? Like, is that we, for us, I really do enjoy just getting on the cruise, putting the keys in the safe, and like not having to think about it for a couple of days, right?
100%.
And, a lot of the guests, clients that I help, I would love to know a percentage of how many people are like over the road truck drivers.
Right.
Because I have a lot of, people that I do help with cruises that are truck drivers because of that right there.
They don't have to drive.
They don't have to
They
drive.
don't have to park. They don't have to worry about any of those things. It's super appealing. And I guess connected along with that is you can go to different places without having to drive there. So, on a cruise, many times, a 7-night cruise, you'll have 3 or 4 different port stops in 3 or 4 different countries possibly.
Right.
And you don't have to do anything but go to sleep and wake up and you're there.
Well, and speaking of that, on our next cruise coming up in 10 days, We have 3 port stops.
Was that a clue?
That's a clue.
That's a clue. Are you going to tell them which port stops? Or one of them?
Let's tell them one of them, okay? So, Puerto Rico.
San
Juan, Puerto Rico.
It's one of my favorites.
It is.
It's one of my favorites. I like the idea of being able to see multiple places really easily. There's places that I've gone to on a cruise ship that I don't know that I would have gone to just to stay there for a couple days.
I agree.
Like Cuba, for example. I would have been apprehensive to fly into Cuba just because I don't know how to navigate. I don't speak Spanish. I don't know much about the country. But the cool thing about cruising to Cuba is the cruise ship, which I'm very familiar with. They took me there, and they waited for me to get done going to Cuba. So that's really appealing to me. If I was just on my own on vacation to Cuba, what if I got over there and it wasn't very fun and I'm just stuck in Cuba for a few days, you know?
Right. And, on the flip side, too, maybe it's someplace that's kind of boring.
Right.
Could you imagine being stuck for the whole week someplace that's boring?
Right.
At least you're having something different. You wake up in the morning and you could be in a different country.
I think what you're talking about really is important because we have this conversation. Are you a ship person or are you a port person? And there are a lot of people that are they're port people, right? But this is where I'm going to push back against the port people.
Okay.
You have to be somewhat of a ship person because the majority of your cruise is spent on the cruise ship.
Right. But on the flip side, right, like maybe they're choosing that ship because of where they're porting.
They're choosing that ship because of where they're porting, but if they weren't people who liked being on a cruise ship, it would not work out.
Right.
So I think at the core, if we all peel the layers of the onion back, everybody are cruise people. Now, some cruise people are going to choose their cruise based on the cruise ship, and some people are going to choose their cruise based on the port.
Right.
But that's the beautiful thing because very rarely when you go on a cruise and you get off at a port, you're very rarely more than 5, 6, 8 hours tops. There's 24 hours in the day. Guess where you're spending the other, 16 hours of the day?
On the ship.
On the ship. So I think it's pretty layered. I think it's pretty deep there. I think that people that go cruising, they like the cruise ship. They like being on a cruise ship, and they like the cruise ship being the thing that takes them to the port. But I don't know of another vacation where you can park your car in a place, you can get on a vessel, you can go to 3 or 4 different countries, and you only got to unpack your bag once.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. I don't know. Do you like to unpack when we get on the cruise?
Absolutely. We all know that.
We all know that. That's the worst. What's the worst? Repacking, right?
I think repacking.
Repacking is worse than unpacking?
I think because, listen, you could... At that point, you don't care if your clothes are going back into the suitcase, folded perfectly so that you can, not have too many wrinkles. I think it's just sad.
Yeah.
It's coming to an end. Your fun, your excitement. It's just kind of coming to an end. But it's also, I don't know, like you get real excited for the next one, right?
Yeah.
Like that's why you should always be booked.
Yes. Shout out to another great podcast, Always Be Booked.
Oh, yeah, he's wonderful.
Always Be Booked.
My fellow New Yorker.
A great podcast and a great saying, but absolutely true. The cruise blues, there's no better way to fight the cruise blues than to have another cruise lined up.
Mm-hmm.
And let's say that. This isn't on my list, but you just brought it to mind. A lot of people say, how do you cruise so often? So we teased. I
got that question this morning, actually.
We teased a little bit in our Facebook group that we had booked another cruise.
Mm-hmm.
How do you cruise so often? And I think that is another thing that is that works well for cruising that doesn't work for land-based vacations. To me, it is easier to contemplate going on my next cruise than planning a land-based vacation.
That's true.
Right? So the way that this happened, we talked about it before. We were saying, look, I would like to go on another cruise. We saw some cruise prices going down, and there was one that went down into our budget range.
Mm-hmm.
And Jenny yelled, hey, do you want to go on this cruise? It is now in the sweet spot. It's now in our budget range. And Let's do it. I mean, most of the time, what limits people from going on vacation is having the time off of work,
right,
and having the money to go on vacation.
right.
And with cruising, the thing that's cool is there's cruising year round, and there's cruising across all different spectrums of budget. And that's how you go on multiple cruises. You just commit to the idea that when you have the time and you have the money, you can easily pull the trigger and book a cruise without much hassle.
Right.
Land-based vacation is not as easy. You know, oh, if I'm going to fly somewhere, if I'm going to do this, can I do it? I think the ease of being able to book a cruise is what makes cruising also better than the land-based vacation.
Absolutely, because you can be either way with it, right? I have people that I work with for 2 years before they get on the ship that they want, right? And in those 2 years, they're planning all the time, like, what hotel am I going to stay at? And, Jim, what do you think of these excursions and all that kind of stuff? And then you have people like us, like with our group cruises, yes, we plan out, way in advance. But most of the time when it's just you and I, we'll do it like a month, 2 months.
Yeah. And, especially when it, like this one that came up, especially when that comes up on a cruise line that we've been on before, that's a hint. That's an easy call to make, right?
That's right.
Easy call to make. The other thing I like about cruising, I'm going to say it. I'm going to make the bold statement. There is something for everyone on a cruise.
I agree. I think that's what's beautiful too, right? Going back to the transportation, you got it all in one spot. If you have your entertainment, you have your casinos, you have your dining room, you have the pool area. There's so much to do. Yeah, bingo, bingo.
I've never thought about this, and maybe we should make a video for the Lido Loca cruise show about it. But really, vacationing happens in some big categories, and I haven't worked it out in my head. Food's a category.
Right.
Drinking is a category.
Right.
Gambling is a category. Entertainment is a category. Relaxation's a category. Destination's a category. And all those things live inside of cruising, right? Some people go on vacation just to gamble, right? I want to go to Las Vegas. I want to gamble, and I don't want to do anything else. Boom, that's the category. Some people say, look, I just want to go. I want to go to Napa Valley and drink wine and eat good food. Right. Or, hey, look, I just want to go down to Cancun and spend a week on the beach. Well, the thing that's appealing about cruising is you could take all of those people that I just mentioned on a cruise with you, and they would be satisfied.
Absolutely. And, like I think back on to our Caribbean Princess. Do you remember that little wine cellar area that they had? Like it was like a little bar area, but they had the barrels.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that was cool, right?
Yeah.
Like you felt like you were in like a winery.
Yeah.
It was very cool.
Yeah. What's your favorite thing to do on the cruise ship?
I enjoyed, of course, the casino. I love the entertainment because that's a lot of times that we are with each other, that kind of thing. I like eating in the main dining room.
Yeah. Just the experience, right?
Mm-hmm. And to be honest, I kind of just like sitting there watching people. And
I would agree. Man, I love talking to you, Jenny, because you say so many things that make my brain just spin. I don't know why I like the main dining room.
Do I make your heart putter?
Yes, you make my heart go pitter-patter. I do like the main dining room. I like the idea of putting on a pair of pants and a collared shirt, and going and sitting down and having dinner. Some main dining room food's great. Not of it, it doesn't always blow your mind, but I do like the experience.
Absolutely,
it's to me, it's like the best. It's fun to go out to eat. And most of the time when you go out to eat, if you go to a popular restaurant, you have to wait in line. And, the service can be hit or miss. But the cool thing about the cruise ship is, dining happens the same time every night. And the lines aren't that bad. And the food's decent enough. And you get that eating out experience.
And the service is
usually always good.
Usually always very good.
I mean, we've had some challenging service, but
never like that you can say, oh, they were horrible or they were rude.
Yeah.
Maybe just a little slow, but never rude or, mean or anything like that.
Yeah, that's not necessarily on my list, but I will say that about that cruise life, about being on a cruise ship. The people that work on cruise ships give good service.
Absolutely.
Like, without question. You could run into people that don't give you good service, but overall, as a whole, I would say the cruise industry has some of the best service compared to anything else. People are more invested in it, right? Mm-hmm. They have to sign a contract. They sacrifice a lot to be on the cruise ship. It's a hard job.
Absolutely.
They're working a lot of hours. And in the middle of all that, a level of service usually arises that sometimes you don't see on land. If you're going to a restaurant on land and they're just coming to work their 4-hour shift and that's it, they might not care as much. But you really do get the sense of these crew members on the cruise ships. They really care about what they're doing, and that's a component of their job, caring about the customer, caring about what they're doing, and I feel like that comes through in the service that you get on most cruise lines.
I totally agree, and props to them, right, that they leave their families, most of them leave their families, and they leave a lot behind to sign these contracts with these cruise lines to have us have a wonderful experience, right? Yeah. And a lot of times, and I know that we've been witness to it, that people are not so nice to them.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't understand that.
I don't either. And, it saddens me, right? That people are like that sometimes. And listen, I know that you and I, we have had some challenging times anywhere, right? And even on a cruise, but never have we been rude to any of the employees?
No.
Because they do work so hard, and it's the cruise life. Things happen.
It is the cruise life. It continues to shock me when I see people be overly obnoxious to a crew member. It's a funny thing. It's a funny thing when you spend your money and you pay for your vacation, you want it to be perfect. And
absolutely.
In that mindset, you can be like, look, you're the person that's not making my vacation perfect, and so I'm going to take it out on you a little bit. Mm-hmm. But what I've learned, at least in my life, is you can be a jerk and get what you want.
Right.
But if you can get what you want by being a nice person, it's more satisfying.
Always be that nice person.
It is more satisfying. I mean, there might be some people that revel in the idea of like, I told them and I got what I wanted and, that's the way it is. But anybody watching that situation doesn't have any respect for you. And if you look deep into yourself, I would be surprised if you found a good feeling about it.
Right. And haven't you always found, though, say that, we didn't get what we had wanted at that moment, right? Never have, and I've seen this happen, right? That, I'll look at the person on the cruise and say, well, that's okay. Thank you anyway. That kind of thing. And then it was something that happened with the cabin steward. And, that very next day, he must have realized oh, wow, she was super nice and gracious about that. So I wound up being happy in the situation, right? Because they fulfilled what my need was.
Right. And I firmly believe that, the service that I've gotten on a cruise ship has been exceptional.
Absolutely.
And I think it outpaces what I've seen on some of my other land-based vacations.
I agree.
And I do believe it comes from the fact that those people genuinely care about doing a good job.
What I'd love to, going back onto the budget also, is what you prepay and what you've paid for, your fare. Guess what? That's not going to change.
Exactly.
We've gone to places and got to our land-based vacation, and we thought we were going to be charged, say, $200, and then it was $400.
That has happened.
It has.
Yeah, I hadn't even thought about that, about, the prices not changing, going back to that idea of the money. Yeah, that's frustrating.
It is.
Now, we have had some interesting situations on cruises, though, where because you don't have to present a credit card or anything, that you can be mistakenly charged for stuff on a cruise ship.
Always look at what your ship account is saying.
I think it's a good callback to the money that, yes, always check your shipboard account, because in that cashless society, sometimes you can get stuff just by signing a name and writing down a folio number. And anytime that you're just writing something down, there is the chance for error. And we have been overcharged before, but easily resolved through customer service.
Absolutely.
Easily resolved. So we just were talking about there was something for everyone. I think the reason that that's important is because sometimes on vacation, especially if you're vacationing with multiple people, you fall into this trap of where you try to make sure that everybody is happy.
Right.
And sometimes you'll sacrifice your own happiness to make sure that other people are happy. And the cool thing about the cruise ship is you don't necessarily have to do that. Like on a land-based vacation, you might, somebody wants to go to the, dinner theater and somebody else wants to go to the batting cages. And then you got this dilemma. Are we going to go to the dinner theater or are we going to go to the batting cages? And who's going to be the least amount mad if they don't get to do the thing that they want to do? And most of the time on land-based vacations, you can't split everybody up. You got like one car, and you can't like, okay, you people go here and you go over there, and maybe we'll find you guys in the middle of some town later. It's not really possible on land-based. And so I think that's what makes cruising better, is because that very scenario, if you have somebody that wants to go to the comedy show and somebody wants to go see the violin players, that can happen without too much hassle.
Right. And then you don't have people sulking and people upset, because they didn't get to do what they wanted to do.
That's the worst. I tell you, I remember, I can't remember why, but we went one time, we took our kids and we went, my brother and my sister-in-law, and we went to Panama City, Florida.
Right.
And I got so mad about something. Like I wanted to do something that everybody else didn't want to. I don't know what it was, or I got mad because nobody could decide what they wanted to do, and I just acted like a big baby. And everybody had to suffer because I was unhappy. And it was on me. Like I know
this is a true story, folks.
Yeah, I know it was on me. And I don't even remember what it is at this point. I just remembered that sometimes you only remember like the bad stuff, right? That's the funny thing. Like you have all these great fun memories, but you can pinpoint those bad memories. I think we had a good time.
Right. Like, oh, we had a great time in Panama City, didn't we, kids? Like 15 years ago. Yeah, isn't that the time that Dad went crazy?
Yeah, wasn't that when Dad was like crazy about something? That's all you remember.
Right. Like they don't remember that we went to that big, lobster, hut or whatever it was, and they don't remember swimming in that beautiful emerald ocean.
Yeah. So the cool thing for me about the cruise ship that helps you to avoid that, at least with adults, right? You still have to supervise your kids. Don't let your kids wander around the cruise ship. But if you come to that fork in the road where you've got 4 people looking at each other and 4 people want to do 4 different things, it's not that hard on a cruise ship to say, well, let's all take an hour. Let's all go do what we want to do.
That's right.
And then we'll all come back together and do something that we all want to do together.
Right.
To me, that is one of my top favorite things about the cruise ship.
It really is. Like, I enjoy so much of my time, like, hanging out with you, right? Like, that's what I enjoy doing.
No, you don't.
Can I finish?
Don't be putting a show here on the podcast.
Can I finish?
Yes.
Okay.
You sounded like Ross Perot from the name. Can I finish?
Can I finish what I'm saying here, please?
Can I finish? All right, go ahead.
But there are so many times that you don't want to do what I'm doing, and I don't want to do what you're doing.
How dare you?
I'm just saying, right?
Can we just establish that whatever I want to do is probably the best thing, the most coolest thing?
No.
How dare you?
So that's what I love about cruising, is that I don't have to go do something that I don't want to go do.
Right.
But yet there is a lot of time that you and I can spend together, like at, dinners and, and things and shows that we enjoy doing, together.
Let me translate that. Jenny says she's always avoiding what I want to do, and she enjoys the time where I go and do exactly what she wants to do. That's what she's saying.
That's a good translation. If we're being honest here, folks. No.
But yeah, and that's evolved over time. We talked about it on a previous podcast.
We did.
We didn't get there right away, but it is one of those things that's super cool.
No, because we didn't get there right away, right? Because we are a couple that are always together. We just kind of do everything together. So on a cruise ship, it's, I don't have to go sit through this 2-hour lecture of, whatever you want to listen to.
I'll flip this table right now. Who doesn't want to hear about the lost city of Atlantis?
I mean, I'd rather be hearing the slot machine.
Who doesn't want to hear about that? So, yes, there are lectures about the lost city of Atlantis on a cruise ship. There is slot machines on the cruise ship. Again, that something for everyone, and everybody doesn't have to do the same thing. Both of those are big reasons why I like cruising better than the land-based vacation. And here's another one. It is all-inclusive enough.
Right.
We talked about it a little earlier about, you basically don't have to spend anything extra. Is cruising all-inclusive? If somebody here's the quick commercial. Jenny is a travel agent. If you need help with your travel, it costs you $0 to get some professional help from Jenny. Reach out to her at jbarnette at cruiseshipcenters.com. She can help you book a cruise. If you already have a cruise booked, she can take it over. She can take a look at it. You can ask her questions. Don't cost any money at all. With that in mind, if somebody reaches out to you through email and says, is cruising all-inclusive, what do you tell them?
No.
It's not, right?
It's not.
There are some things that you have to pay for.
Right. Like if you want specialty dining.
Yes.
Other than eating in the MDR, most of the cruise lines have these lovely restaurants that on land would cost an arm and a leg, right? Like
yes.
that we probably would never go into, like a French restaurant or, that sort of thing. So at least on the cruise ship, it is a little bit more reasonable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all-inclusive enough, right? For me, again, and you can choose your cruise line based on how all-inclusive that you want it to be. There are high-end cruise lines that truly are all-inclusive. If you want your alcohol included, if you want your excursions included, if you want your internet included, you can go for a cruise like that. They're pretty high-end. They're pretty expensive. But they're all-inclusive enough. Almost every line, when you book it, you're going to get your cabin. You're going to get some form of included food, and you're going to get some form of included non-alcoholic drinks. So if you like anything beyond that, if you like the internet, if you like excursions, if you like better quality food, higher-end food, if you like alcohol as part of your vacation, you're going to spend extra money that way. But for many people that don't partake in a lot of that stuff, the cruise line is a perfect getaway because it's all-inclusive enough. And if you choose a cruise line, I'm thinking about Carnival. They have a lot of additional inclusive food items like Guy's Burger, Guy's Pig and Anchor. They've got the Blue Iguana, taco, those kind of things. That's a line that tries to give you a lot of money or a lot of value for your money without spending extra money.
I think they do, right? Like their steakhouse dinner is phenomenal. It's under $40 a person.
Right.
But what I really love is their Gigi's, which is an Asian kind of family style dining, and their Italian is phenomenal. What is the name of that?
Cucina del Capitano.
Thank you. I always have a hard time with that. But they're only $15 a person.
Right. And so that is the way it works in cruising. So not completely all-inclusive. Some included food, some included drink, of course your cabin, and then a bunch of different add-ons. And you can really, figure out what you like from a cruise line perspective if you want it to be more inclusive or less inclusive. But to me, cruising's inclusive enough.
I agree.
And most land-based vacations are not. Like I very rarely booked a land-based vacation where my lunch and dinner was included and I didn't have to pay anything extra, and that can be a huge expense when you're going vacation on land.
Absolutely. And even when you go on a cruise ship, right? Like with the drinks. If you're getting an alcoholic drink or, a soda, they have packages that you can do that and budget that, beforehand, prepay it beforehand. But, it could also get expensive if you don't watch.
Right. That's okay. So that we'll give you the public service announcement. The cruise lines, they do a really good job of publishing the least inexpensive price possible to entice you to come on their cruise line. And those don't include those add-ons like alcohol and soda and those kind of things. So whenever you're booking a cruise, it is important to keep that in mind, that if there anything that you like beyond some of these included things, it could add up quick.
Yeah, exactly.
It could add up quick.
Yes.
So talked about it a little bit about just being in love with the ship. I'll tell you one thing that makes cruising to me better than land-based vacations is just sailing, being on the ocean.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the big difference, right? You're on a cruise ship, and for a couple sea days, for hours at a time, you are a sailor. You are somebody that is navigating the high seas or being navigated across the high seas, and that is different than any experience I know.
I agree. You know, there's not much that you can't let go of when you're out on the ocean.
Yeah, sometimes it forces you to.
Does that make sense?
It does. It does. And for the most part, the cruise ships are not that connected. Now, there continues to be improvements in Wi-Fi. There's some cruise lines that have really great Wi-Fi, but those are an additional charge, and a lot of people opt not to pay that. And so you could be in the middle of the ocean, fully disconnected from the life that you know, from your work's emails, from, you know, annoying phone calls from telemarketers. Think of most modern annoyances that come with being connected to the broader world. You can get on a cruise ship and be completely isolated if you choose to be.
Yeah, I think that like even our first cruise, we were kind of disconnected. It was pretty awesome. But you know, what's pretty awesome now is that, you know, we do have to stay connected when we're on the cruise. But it's still pretty cool to be able to look out a window and just see ocean while I'm working.
Yeah, it's really neat that way. I've been in some interesting situations on a cruise ship with weather and those kind of things, and I like all of it. Like I really enjoy getting up early in the morning as the sun is getting ready to come up over the horizon, and just watch that, you know, the ship work its way through the water, and it's exciting. I mean, it's exciting when you pull into port, like when you're standing up and you pull into port, and you can get in your head about it. I get in my head about it. I'm like, at some point there was a first person who pulled into this port. At some point there was a person who came from another place and pulled into this land and became a part of that land and started to experience that culture. And so cruising, and this is going to sound a little cheesy, but cruising, you're basically following in the footsteps of people who've made these journeys before. And of course, we make these journeys for leisure. We make these journeys as a way to experience slightly other cultures. It's not super immersive.
Right.
But there is this idea of going and exploring outside what you know. And it's super appealing. To me, going to Cuba or going to St. Martin is a lot different than driving to Pigeon Forge. There's a different kind of heaviness to it, adventure to it than when you just go on a land-based vacation.
Yeah. I think St. Martin is on our list of our upcoming cruise in 10 days.
Is St. Martin on that list?
It is.
Puerto Rico, St. Martin, on a cruise line we've been on before.
Yeah. And, you know, I have to agree with you. So when I'm out on the ship, I feel like I kind of just let all of the bad, like, mojo, you know, just I release it.
Yeah.
You know, and I feel like it brings me closer to my dad, and because he just loved the ocean so much. And I know how much he would have enjoyed cruising.
Yeah.
You know, like, I just think that he was such an overpowerful, like, he walked into the room and he just lit it up. You know, you knew you were going to have some fun with this 6'7" giant, you know?
Yeah.
And I also just feel that gratitude, you know, of being able to enjoy another memory with you. And, you know, I look back on years and I just love it.
Yeah, no, it's
so peaceful and calming, you know?
I didn't anticipate when we first went cruising that it would mean that much to me. Like, I just thought that it was another kind of throwaway vacation. Like, I did it just because you wanted me to go.
Thank you.
And it really kind of blew my mind a little bit. You know, we had a really weird first cruise experience on a small, not elaborate cruise ship that didn't have a lot of bells and whistles. And yeah, I mean, being out on the sea and navigating the cruise ship, even going through the muster drill and stuff like that, I was like, wow, this is for me. And then you get into the things I really love. I mean, you can see a ton of different entertainment on the cruise ship, and you can see people working hard to, entertain people and working hard to try to live their life, and you're a part of that too, and it's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool.
It's pretty cool. Well, Jenny, anything else you like better about cruising than land-based vacation?
I mean, like, I love it all.
I love it all.
Yeah.
I love it all. Wow. Now I'm really excited to go cruising in 11 more days. Like, we're not going to tell you the cruise ship or the cruise line.
We're not?
Not in this episode. You got to tune in.
I teased them. We have to.
You got to tune in Tuesday night. You're going to tell them?
Yes.
All right. Look, here's the thing. You're going to hear it before the people hear it on Tuesday night. So keep it to yourselves. Don't spoil it.
We have to. I teased them in the beginning of the podcast.
No, I'm saying you will. Now I'm talking to the people. People, don't spoil it for the rest of them. All right. Well, we'll tell them at the end. So the other thing I wanted to talk about on today's podcast is there is a sickness in Asia.
Yeah.
That is affecting cruise ships. We've seen cruise ships quarantined, and we've seen the spread of this sickness. We've seen people being afraid of this sickness.
People dying
in the United States. Some questionable things going on with cruise ships. I'm not going to say too much about it, but it does. I did put a video out the other day on the Lido Loca cruise show, and asking the question: is it time to quit cruising? And there's a mixed bag of responses in the comments of that. There are a lot of people that say with this sickness that's continuing to increase at the moment. I think it's increasing at a slower rate, maybe. I don't know. I don't know. I didn't even want to say that. But this sickness is front and center on everybody's mind. Is it time to slow down on cruising? And it's been a mixed bag. There have been people that say, yes, let's just wait until it's all over. And there's people that say, that's life. Let's just keep cruising. Now, cruising in Asia is basically shut down, but
right.
Cruising in the other parts of the world, Australia, Europe, Hawaii, the Caribbean, Alaska, all those cruises are moving forward. Is there anything that's going on with this that gives you pause? Are you worried about getting on a cruise ship? I know that we booked this cruise after all this was going on, so I think the answer is no. We're not really worried about it. We're concerned, and we feel for the people that are struggling with it. But does it give you any pause when it comes to cruising?
It doesn't, right? Because first of all, like you said, I really, our thoughts go out to everybody that's been affected with this, right? But I feel like maybe the cruises, and this is my own craziness, right? But I almost think maybe the cruise ship is a little cleaner.
Because of the...
Yeah, I mean, like maybe they had to do some extra, things to pass safety. I don't know, but I also know that like our personal hygiene plays a super important role in everything, right?
Right.
So, we just have to continue to do what we do.
Yeah, you've got to be diligent in this circumstance to make sure that you wash your hands thoroughly a lot on the cruise ship. I did read an article this morning off of USA Today, and I won't get all of these right because this is just from my head, but it talked about the main things to clean in your cruise cabin when you first go into the cruise. I think it was like 12 ways to make your cruise cabin ready. I won't remember all of them, but I will throw out a few of them that I found was interesting. So we talked about it when we talked about bed bugs at some point recently. They said the first thing, don't set your luggage on the bed because if the bed's unclean, maybe that's a point of contention. And a lot of cruise lines, they'll provide that mat so you can have that layer between your bed and your bags. But a couple key things, they said, make sure that you wipe down the doorknobs, make sure you wipe down the telephone, make sure you wipe down the remote. Make sure you wash the glasses that are sitting there in your cabin in case they didn't get changed out because they weren't used the last time, and then wipe down any kind of hard surfaces. And this is one that's interesting. In that article, they said don't don't use the bed cover and the duvet. But sometimes that's all you have. Like, I don't know what to think about that one.
Well, I know on our last cruise, we were able to ask for extra blankets. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what I'm going to start doing, like, in our upcoming cruises. Just because, first of all, we don't share blankets, but...
Because somebody doesn't share very well.
Okay, big baby. But...
Oh my gosh. How dare you?
Yeah, I think that's a good point, right? Because I'm sure that they don't get changed out all the time.
That's wild, though. Well, I mean, I don't know, we always use the duvet, but...
Well, we always use a sheet in between and, that kind of thing.
Not always. I mean, there's there's been nights where we've just had the sheet and the duvet, and you got stuck with the duvet, so I'm glad you never got sick or anything.
Whatever.
It's wild. It's a wild time. You can get sick anywhere. I mean, 100%. There,
No, and I think
it's scary because you're enclosed on a cruise ship,
right?
But I got to be more vigilant, I guess.
Well, I mean, we do clean the handles. We do. The only thing I don't do, and I never thought of it, was the glasses.
Yeah, I never thought of that either. Mm-mm. That's some news.
I mean, we don't use them. But what if?
I mean, we've touched them,
Yeah, absolutely.
Moved them around. I feel like I've used one before, like to get water
maybe
out
for
of the faucet
soda
or
and stuff like that. Yeah.
Time to make sure you wipe it all down.
Absolutely.
Wipe it all down.
Are you packed yet?
No, I'm still on the fence about touching the tongs in the buffet.
Do you want me to bring gloves for you?
No, but
I think we actually bought gloves for you when you went to Japan.
Maybe so. Somebody sent some gloves and some masks. It's so weird. Like I had a couple stories talking about people mishandling food in the buffet, and the more I've thought about it is honestly, the tongs got to be the grossest thing in the buffet.
I mean, absolutely. And then you don't know what the next person's hygiene is.
We got to find one of these cruise lines. I don't think we've been on one yet where they serve you the buffet food themselves.
We have.
Have we really?
Celebrity maybe. Celebrity, they were always behind the counters.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, Celebrity.
I don't think so.
And Princess, absolutely.
I think I handled my food on
MSC.
both of those.
MSC, they were behind there.
Not serving the food.
Yeah.
I think you're wrong.
Well, in certain areas on MSC.
I think you're wrong.
I'm not wrong. I know for sure on Celebrity.
All right. Well, I just don't remember. Maybe I wasn't thinking about it. We don't eat at the buffet that much, to be honest.
Well, in Celebrity, we didn't eat that much up in the buffet, but they always, remember the sandwiches and that kind of stuff?
No.
Okay.
I don't remember.
All right.
But I trust you.
Okay. You should.
I do. Well, this took a turn. Yeah, so, I'm going to keep cruising.
Absolutely.
That's all you could do. I got, we've covered some of these news stories, and I think it's important to talk about it. I think it's important for people. There's people out there that are curious as to what's going on in cruising and what we think about it, and so I'll continue to talk about these things. But I guess the big takeaway for me is I'm not worried to the point where I wouldn't go cruising.
No, and, just be cautious. Like if someone is sneezing or whatever, turn
it's
the other way.
It's the MSC Divina, okay? That's the cruise ship that we're going on.
Oh, my goodness. I was just going to say St. John's we're going to.
MSC Divina that we're going on.
Isn't that divine?
Back on MSC in your face. Jenny, we got on for cheap in an interior room.
We did for $840.
$840.
All in.
That's pretty good.
That's fantastic.
Is that gratuities too?
That's gratuities also. No, I'm not sure. No, I don't think so.
It says not all in.
Come on. I mean, it's all in. Port fees and taxes.
For 8 days.
8 days, 7 nights. But MSC, it's 7 days.
So I guess it's the thing.
It's a Friday to Friday.
The cruise prices are going down because of some of the activity that's going on. So
right.
It is a good time to book a cruise. But MSC Divina.
You couldn't hold it in, could you? You couldn't let me give it out.
What? I thought you gave me that look like I was supposed to say it.
No, I didn't, baby.
Did. What? How dare you? Well, look, we'll have a big announcement on the Tuesday Night Live on the Loca Live. So make sure you follow us on the Lido Loca Cruise Show channel so that you can see the live show where I'll let Jenny reveal what cruise ship we're going to be going on.
Yeah, and I hope none of you do.
Tell all your friends, since the cat's out of the bag.
No, don't tell all your friends. But you know what? A lot of people on Facebook had guessed it, so.
Yeah, but we neither confirmed or denied it.
Right, but not many ships leave out on Fridays.
Nobody knows it's a Friday.
Yeah.
Nobody has calendars.
Absolutely they do.
Whatever.
They could see through your little cross out.
Really?
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's on that note. That is the end of episode 10. It's not.
And listen, that's how we get on so many cruises, right?
Like, that's true.
We utilize when low rates.
Yeah.
It's an interior guaranteed.
Yes.
You know, we could be under the galley. Who knows?
Oh, yes.
You know, so that's how we get on so many cruises, right?
Yeah. A lot of times we get in that mode that we'll take what we can get, and if it's a guaranteed room, they can put you anywhere. So this could be the worst room on the cruise ship.
Right.
And we just have to smile and say, this is what we picked.
Because we're cruising.
We want to, but we're excited because we really had a good time on the MSC Seaside.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're looking forward to trying another MSC ship. This ship's 10 years old, not as new as the Seaside, but it's a filler, right? So we just we tried to cruise around our anniversary. So I'm very excited that this one came up.
Yeah, me also. And you know what? Like sometimes my criteria, right, is to stay within $50 to $80 a day.
Yeah.
And that hit it.
Yeah. That's a good.
Yeah, it's $50 a day.
All I know is I said yes to the dress. Wait,
yes.
That's the wrong show. All right. Well, hey, just a quick reminder. If you guys, again, if you need help with any of your travel plans, reach out to Jenny. If you want to represent the locafam, you can get merch. We have a Teespring store. I will leave a description. I'll leave a description of the store. I will leave a link to the store in the description. Come join us on all of our YouTube channels. We have a vlog channel. We got the main show channel. And, of course, we have a podcast channel. And, what else we got going on, Jenny? If you want some extra content, you can go over to Patreon. We have a Lido Loca Patreon account that has some extra content, some extra live streams, and you can check that out. I don't know. Are you ready to cruise?
I'm ready to cruise.
We'll be back for one more episode. We'll
Absolutely.
be back for episode 11 before we go cruising. Maybe we'll do a little preview of the MSC Divina.
Yeah, what we're looking forward to, right?
Yes. Well, thanks everybody for stopping by. My name's Tony.
And I'm Jenny.
And we are Lido Loca. This is the Lido Loca podcast. And until the next time.
We'll see you on the Lido.
We'll see you on the Lido.
Bye.
Bye.